Dobry wieczór.
Good evening, Berlin.
Good evening, Berlin.
Schönen guten Abend zur zweiten Halbzeit.
Hello, everyone, to the second half.
Ich habe heute die Ehre als einziger.
It's my honor tonight to be the only second-class scientist tonight, because this is how the natural scientists call us economists. In contrast to these real scientists, we don't do science for the sake of science, but we try to get the stuff that our research is about, cash, and what you can do with it. But have no fear. I may be Swabian, as you can hear. I won't buy your old, beautiful houses and then increase your rent. These are the kind of perks that are reserved to those who score a job in the industry after uni. My life as a PhD is like this. I'm still with the student stimulants. Instead of a girlfriend, I have a year subscription here. And instead of the yacht, I still have an inflatable boat with an eco-friendly 2-horsepower electric motor. But in my research, I'm dealing with those who are in similar circumstances, people with lower income. I hope there are not too many of those here tonight in the audience, because my talk is not going to lift your mood. I'll show you why. Please, everyone, stand up in the name of science. As many people as you can see now have owned as much as the poorer half of the world population, 300 to 400 people. This was 2009. Thank you. You can sit down. And then please, my slammer colleagues, can you stand up? Because at the moment, only 5 people own as much as the poorest 4 billion of the world. So, quite fittingly, 2 years ago, the first multi-billionaire, you can sit down, was elected US president. In times like this, and you wouldn't be surprised that his election program is based on reducing the wealth and the property tax, because this is something that the rich will benefit from. And then, in consequence, social benefits are cut. So who would vote for him? Actually, it was not the rich, but the poor who were tipping the scale. Compared to 2012, there were plus 16% for the Republicans under Trump in 2016. There are studies that prove that the poor parts of the population do not always take the smart decisions. But I won't keep on at Trump. Respect among colleagues forbids it, because one of the 2 slammers tonight has voted for him, at least statistically. Well, but we shall not point a finger. The AfD offices, the German populist far-right party, is right around the corner. And as we know, Gauland and his friends also marketed tax cuts during the election. And also, in this case, the poorer parts of the population were decisive in their electoral success. Let me summarize. The gap between rich and poor continues to widen. And then the poor say, finally somebody who knows that money doesn't buy you happiness and sacrifices for us and relieves us finally from these state social benefits. They elect him president, and Trump, surprisingly, a politician who keeps his promises. As he promised, he reduces the wealth tax and repeals Obamacare, wants to. And this widens the gap even more. The poor are getting poorer, the rich are getting richer. Psychologists would call this a masochistic personality disorder, but we as economists would call it a behavioral paradox. But how can we explain something like this? There is the POOM theory, the prospect of upward mobility. Let me explain this with the family Ludolf, which is a German TV series. The family Ludolf lives on social benefits on a scrapyard. Mom Ludolf has an affair that goes unnoticed at university where she works as a cleaning lady with a blind guest professor. Daddy Ludolf is then very proud of his new son because they soon notice that he's a genius and that he's looking forward to a big career with top income. With this positive expectation, the family Ludolf already now votes for lower taxes because they know that it takes a long time until these laws are adopted. And 15 years later, the time has come. The junior may cut the job of Mom Ludolf at university, but since he now has a top income, the family as a whole benefits from this. And they cash in. And then there's another theory that might explain why poor people vote to abolish a wealth tax. Before the career of the junior, Daddy Ludolf is the richest on the scrapyard, just because social benefits are paid onto an account in his name. And he thinks, I'm done caring for these parasites in the family, and in the next election, he votes to abolish a wealth tax. So he projects his own circumstances on the total population because he thinks that he himself will benefit from these tax reductions. That's why he votes to abolish these taxes. We wanted to analyze these two theories and invited study participants to a computer lab. We told them that they would form a society with 3 different income classes, which are the same size: poor, medium, rich. We then did a game of skill with them and the computer in order to determine who is going to go where in which group. We did this before the experiment, but we didn't tell them how they were doing in the test until the end. As a distribution of income, we took the South African one. And we divided it into 3 groups. And this situation, these circumstances, is the real South African distribution, if there were only 3 groups in South Africa. And we did this with another group, with the Swiss distribution, also divided into 3 classes. And the sums that you can see here were the sums that the participants were actually able to win, depending on how they did in the game. Now you can see the richest third in South Africa has 25 times as much as the poorest, while in Switzerland, the richest only have 2.5 times as much as the poorest third of the population. And then we asked the participants how they rated themselves, what they thought was their performance, and where would they go into which group. And we found out that in the South African group, many participants overestimated themselves. They thought that they were in the richest third because of their performance in the game, although they were in the medium or poor third. And we think that maybe this was because of the jackpot of 25 euros. Because in the Swiss group, the reference group, we weren't able to determine anything like this. And we think that because the income was so much closer to each other, that it was less painful for the participants to actually place yourself correctly. And we have another result that shows how easily we can be manipulated. And we asked the participants to change the initial distribution that we showed them to their liking, to their preferred distribution. So they could have chosen total equality. And interestingly, those who found the South African distribution left their preferred distribution still more unequal than the initial distribution in Switzerland. And the South African preferred distribution was, as I said, unequal. even more unequal than the initial distribution in Switzerland. They could have taken total equality, but they didn't. Maybe this is an indication on why Trump was so successful in the United States, because the American distribution of income is very similar to the South African one. And it could be that the Americans have gotten used to this stark differences in income and are more ready to accept a multi-billionaire as a president because of that. We're going to do more experiments, of course, in order to exclude that our results are alternative facts. Because it could be that our Russian hacker friends gave the poor devils a multi-billionaire as a president. Thank you.
Your applause.